set? Yes. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Call this meeting to order. This is the Village Board meeting. It's Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. It is 7 o'clock. Clerk, you call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Here.
Trustee Whitaker?
Here.
Trustee Fowler?
Here.
Trustee Mendrick? Here. Trustee Gallen?
Here.
Trustee Dunges?
Here.
President Lungmas?
Yes, here.
I'm sorry, I have to explain why I'm laughing, because for 3 years, Holly has started over there and gone around this way with our names. It just caught me by surprise today, that's all.
Change the order on you.
Next time we change nameplates.
Wow, that'll be too much.
So public comment, as at all our public meetings, we open the floor to those who wish to address the board. Is there anyone present that would like to speak to the board? Please.
Yeah, I can't because I know public comments are first, and I do have public comments this
Sorry,
time.
can you? Yeah.
Kaya Rubenstein,
Hi.
315 Linder Avenue. Okay, and I'm with the League of Women Voters of Winnetka, Northfield, and Kenilworth, and I just want to tell everybody that we will be registering anybody to vote at the Winnetka Public Library because we will be there during finals week from May 28th to June 1st and June 4th and 5th. And we're not always going to be manning the table because you can register, and the kids are really good at this. You can register yourself by putting your phone over the QR code, and you just go directly to the Illinois Board of Elections, and you have to have an Illinois state ID or driver's license. But the Northfield finals week study space is also going to be open, which I just found out today, and that's at the Northfield Library, and that's also May 28th through Saturday, June 1st. And if you go on the events calendar for the Winnetka Public Library, you'll see the hours for that. And tell your kids, but also anybody else can register to vote there. A citizen who is 16 and 17 years old can pre-register to vote, but only online with the Illinois State Board of Elections, and must have either an Illinois state ID or a driver's license. But a citizen who is going to be 18 by the November 5th election can register as opposed to pre-register online or by one of the deputy registrars, but probably won't do that, and can vote, of course, on November 5th. And that's really all I have. Oh, that nobody is, there are no candidates forums, there are no public offices in Northfield that are open right now, but we are in the 57th House District now, and insofar as I know, Tracy Katz-Moe is unopposed right now, and she is the candidate for the 57th House District, and she was appointed temporary House Representative for the 57th District. So whoever it is, you can be sure that at some point we will set up something so that Northfield residents can meet our representative, our senator. We are definitely having something because our senator, who is now Julie Morrison on the 29th, is not up for re-election again until 2026. So we will be having our infamous or famous or whatever you want to, Wine and Wine, W-H-I-N-E. This time not with Representative Robin Gable because she's running against somebody, but with State Senator Julie Morrison and of course State Senator Laura Fine. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the public service announcement. And voting is so important and encouraging our youth to register. Thank you for that. Consent agenda. Are there any items on the that any board member would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
I just had a question, and it relates to our conversation tonight. Are we going to change the approval of the board meeting report of proceedings to board meeting minutes as well? Do we say that?
That's what we said. Yeah.
Okay, great. I just want to clarify. Thank you.
And I have a comment. This is interesting after our discussion last meeting on the committee of the whole. The minutes, and I don't want to change them in any way, but there was an addition to the minutes which explained our vote last month on the budget, which I think the vote was 6-0 with an abstention, and I abstained. And it's registered as a unanimous vote. And I feel compelled to at least explain my abstention. And I regret not doing it a month ago. That was a mistake. I had comments. I think I got caught up in the kumbaya moment of our new village manager sitting out there, and there was not a lot of public comment on the budget, but the public did play a really important role in the budget. And I think the public asked some really good questions, which helped the board get some important answers. I spent 4 years working for Dawn Clark Netsch when she was state controller, in charge of all of the state spending, first woman elected to statewide office. And we used to refer to Dawn's looking at a budget as the ugly truth. And she looked very closely at it. And so I'm going to make a sort of a big picture comment and then a small picture comment. But just the budget itself, with anticipating 7% revenue increase, some of those assumptions I question. There's talk in Springfield of eliminating the grocery tax. We're still waiting for cannabis revenue, so we're assuming 7%. And then we're planning on 20% increase in expenses, taking about $2 million from savings for Hap Road improvements, potential library. And so there's been a lot of questions raised by the public about some of that spending. And because of the public questions, we found out while there's no dollars in the budget to actually build a fountain, there is about almost $100,000 in engineering. And I, a few months ago, opposed that engineering expense. I was remote, and I didn't feel, since I was remote, that I could really engage in conversation with the board. But I just, if the village is uncomfortable with something, or if the board has maybe changed its view, I think it's okay to make that change. And to me, $100,000 is a lot of money. And we've seen the citizen petition about the fountain, and I feel for that reason, for the big picture, 7% revenue, 20% expenses, questions there, and then the nearly $100,000 for a fountain, I could not vote for the budget. That said, I want to compliment those who did vote for the budget. I think it's really important that we pay our employees and pay our bills, and I respect those who worked hard on the budget. But I just personally, as a board member, in light of those things, abstained. So I just wanted to explain that now. I regret taking your time now when I should have taken it a month ago, but thank you.
Okay, Barnaby. Hearing no, and you don't want anything removed from the consent agenda?
No, sorry. I didn't know where the right time was to make
Okay,
a
that's fine.
comment, so I just
That's
thought I
fine.
would make it there.
Will the clerk please read the?
Motion?
Okay.
Second,
I will make a motion
Thank you.
to approve the consent agenda.
and I'll second
you.
it.
Will the clerk please read the consent agenda into the record?
There are 3 items on the consent agenda. The first is the approval of the April 16th, 2024 Village Board Meeting Report of Proceedings. The second is the approval of the bills and disbursements from April 1st to April 30th, 2024, for a total of $688,314.57. And the third is the approval of resolutions authorizing Patrick Brennan as a signatory for village banking accounts and removing previous village manager.
Thank you, Ollie. Any questions or comments from the board? Any members of the public make a comment? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker?
Yes.
Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Trustee Mendrick?
Yes.
Trustee Gallen?
Yes.
Trustee Dunges?
Yes.
President, the motion carries.
Thank you. Action items. We have a hearing tonight. The Village of Northfield shall convene a public hearing on the proposed budget amendment for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024 at the 7:10, Tuesday, May 21st. Clerk, you call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker?
Yes.
Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Trustee Mendrick?
Yes.
Trustee Gallen?
Yes.
Trustee Dungus.
Yes.
I think we needed to make a motion first.
Nope, not quite.
No?
We were just calling a roll
Okay,
on who was
okay.
here.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, yep.
Declaring the public hearing open. This is a public hearing on the proposed 2023-24 budget amendment that was that document has been available on the village's website for residents to review. Ms. Morley, would you please give a brief discussion of this?
Sure. As Trustee Dingus was just discussing, prior to the beginning of any fiscal year, we create a budget, and the budget for the fiscal year that just ended April 30th was prepared and approved by the board April 18th of 2023. And as with a lot of budgets, you do your best to prepare and plan, but there's often some unforeseen things that come up. And when that happens, we do a budget amendment. So there's two categories within the general fund that I'm coming before you with a budget amendment for. The first one is for legal services. It was originally budgeted at $162,900. The amended budget would be for $352,547. That's an increase of $189,647. The second account is for professional services. It was originally budgeted at $145,680. The amended budget amount is $318,970, and that's an increase of $173,290. The amendment requires approval by 2/3 of the village board.
Thank you, Kathleen. Are there any questions or comments from the trustees on the proposed 2023-2024 budget amendment? Any questions or comments from the public? May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the public meeting hearing? Deputy Clerk, please, a voice vote.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Need a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 4B, may I have a motion to approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 23-24 village budget?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Any further questions from the trustees or the public? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker? Yes. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Trustee Mendrick?
Yes.
Trustee Gallen?
Yes.
Trustee Dungus?
Yes.
Present, the motion carried.
Thank you. Action item 5 was a plat of subdivision for the property at 118 Dickens Street. This item has been removed from the agenda at the request of the petitioner. Action item 6. May I have a motion to approve an ordinance for the chlorination system as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Chief Nystrand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The village owns, operates, and maintains the reservoir pumping station. It's located at the west boundaries of town, and it serves a high-pressure area. And there's 1 million gallons of storage in the reservoir, and that water has to be treated while it's in the reservoir, so it stays at or above, or as close to not going below the IEPA's free chlorine residual in the tank. So there's a chlorinator that's in the station that chlorinates the water as needed. It's programmed, and the one we're replacing is 12 years old. It had a 10-year useful life. We were able to get 2 extra years of service from it, but it's one of those things that we don't want to have it fail and then replace it, so we're proactively replacing it. So during the budget process, we put $30,000 in the budget for this project. Staff recommended we move it forward. The proposal we got from Wunderlich Malik, which is the company that put the whole chlorination system in originally, and they program it, and it's all proprietary, submitted a proposal for $28,900 to put in the new chlorination system at the reservoir.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Any questions, comments from the
This is
board?
a single source item, correct? It can only be replaced by them, basically?
Yeah, that's the system that's currently in there, and if you go beyond, you start doing
Right.
hybrids, then we have issues.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker?
Yes.
Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Trustee Mendrick?
Yes.
Trustee Gallen?
Yes.
Trustee Dengis?
Yes.
President, the motion carried.
Thank you, Holly. Action item 7, may I have a motion to authorize the village manager to execute the necessary documents with Mission Square Retirement to create a 401A money purchase plan with a 7% employer contribution.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
Thank you. Patrick, go through the background on this. Already got it, I think.
Sure. For the members of the public who were not here previously, this is a concept that we have come up with to help add as a benefit to our public safety employees in the police department, both part-time and full-time officers who may qualify. For full-time officers, they must qualify under a state statute as it relates to the downstate pension plan. It is basically what you would consider a 401K. On the non-governmental side, this 401A is the 401K equivalent. And the recommendation is that we put in 7% of earnings to incentivize that plan with no required match on the employee side. The goal being to attract officers who may have some seniority in another department that have reached a retirement age eligibility that may be looking to transfer departments. As the chief and deputy chief have looked at our staffing over the next couple of months, they see the need to try to expedite hiring, and that is why you're seeing this item on both the committee of the whole meeting and the regular agenda in the same night.
Thank you, Patrick. Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker?
Yes.
Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Trustee Mendrick?
Yes.
Trustee Gallen?
Yes.
Trustee Dengis?
Yes.
President, the motion carried.
Thank you, Holly. Informational items, departmental updates, Office of the Village Manager.
It's been kind of quiet. No, thank you very much. First of all, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here. And each day I'm here and get to know staff a little bit better, and I'm running across and meeting new residents, learning people's names as we go through and see each other on the street. It's been very helpful for me, and I have felt so welcomed by everybody that I've run across. So I really appreciate it. I don't have a full report for you tonight as far as what my initial findings are. We'll be working that in the near future. But most of my time right now has been really being spent learning a little bit about your budget, getting caught up on the active projects, meeting individual staff members, touring facilities, and really just starting to take notes about what I see and what we may want to adjust in the future, and learning why we do the things we do, so I understand the methodology behind that. So it is an iterative process. It'll be probably going for a couple of years with me, but we'll be picking out the big important things, and you really, this evening on the prior vote has knocked off really what is number one on my list as it relates to ensuring that we have the best tools possible to attract candidates to Northfield. So, thank you.
Great, Patrick. You're doing a fabulous job. You really
Can
are.
I just say also, yesterday, Patrick presented to the combined garden clubs of Northfield. So before we even had a board meeting, he went before that august group and did a great job, and, you know, got lots of great questions. And thank you for agreeing to do that 16 days into your service here. So we appreciated it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Community Development and Building, Steve Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. President. On June 5th, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hear a side yard variation application for the property at 149 Eddy Lane. The homeowner is seeking to expand their one-story garage in a corner, just a little bit of a corner of the one-story garage addition will go into the required side yard setback. So this requires a variation, and it'll be reviewed by the ZBA. For our zoning code variations, these actually are decided by the Zoning Board of Appeals, so these won't appear on your agenda, but we want to keep you up to speed on what they're doing.
What's the date on that?
June 5th. On June 3rd, the Plan and Zoning Commission will be reviewing a new special use for the drive-through facility and Dunkin' Donuts restaurant at 1900 Willow. Again, we've been through this actually just a year ago. Our code requires that special uses, which does currently cover that facility and that business, be renewed or actually replaced by a new special use once they have a change in ownership. That property is under contract to be purchased, and the petitioner is the pending new owner of the property. And that will be again on June 3rd. And finally, Black Cannabis Dispensary. We finally have the C up on the name on the wall. And the monument sign has actually been installed, so the exterior signage is in place. I'm being told that they should be calling us for final inspections within the next couple of weeks. Once they pass the inspections, we would issue a certificate of occupancy. And once they have their certificate of occupancy in hand, that's the last piece of the puzzle for them to submit their final paperwork to the state, which will trigger the state's inspection of the facility. They check all the boxes, and before they can actually get open, or they are able to be open and operating. So they're, I think, maybe optimistically thinking they'll be open by the end of June. It just depends a lot on how quickly the state reacts to their final submission. And that's all I have for you, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Steve? Our monthly finance, sorry, go ahead.
Pardon me, do you want to go? I bet you, I just wondered why the action item on Dickens came off the agenda. Can you add any?
Yeah, we got contacted by the petitioner's attorney. And my understanding, and you have to understand the petitioner, Steve Nathan, is on safari in Africa. So our direct communication with petitioner is a little bit spotty. But his attorney indicates that there's some, I won't call them, well, they're not quite ready to close on the property, or they may not be ready to consummate the deal with the other buyer. So Mr. Nathan was buying this property, seeking a subdivision into 2 lots. He's building his home on 1 lot. He was going to sell the other lot to another person. That deal is apparently on hold as well right now. So we're not quite clear of all the details, which I will report to you once I have them, but they've asked that it be at least postponed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, our monthly report from the Finance Department. Kathleen Ward.
Sure. Okay, so for the general fund, there's a year-to-date net surplus of $540,000, which is actually $25,000 higher than budget at this point. And, we've continued to do well with a lot of, revenues, including the sales tax, interest income, and other revenue. When we do our budget, we use revenue estimates provided by the Illinois Municipal League. So, that's what we use for our budgeting. And I just looked at our budget for cannabis, and we budgeted 12 months at 500,000, hold on, at 3%. So I'm just trying to see, our questions about what we budgeted for the cannabis here. Gosh, hold on. Okay, I'll have to come back to that maybe another time, but I think $500,000 in revenue is what we were estimating. They would come in at $500,000 revenue for 12 months. And then the 3% sales tax on top of that is what we budgeted for. Okay, and then the expenditures for the general fund are over budget by $153,000. Now, with the budget amendment, the administration piece of that won't be over budget once that amendment's put through on the budget. And the other area that was over budget was related to the fire, but we'll be invoicing Glenview for some shared costs, and then that will take care of that. So that won't be over budget once that takes care of. We'll be invoicing them in April. The water fund has a surplus of 1.2 million. It's 1.1 million higher than budget. 382,000 is related to the revenue piece. 768,000 is related to expenses that were under budget. And that's largely due to capital projects that have been pushed forward to the next year because the bids came in higher than anticipated. Right now, we're currently wrapping up our fiscal year end, which ended April 30th. We're going through the process of, doing our year-end accruals and closing the books. We have our audit scheduled for early to mid-July, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Kathleen. Any questions? Fire Rescue and Public Works, Chief Mike Strand.
Since April 16th, the Fire and Rescue Department has responded to 134 calls for service, including one house fire in Highland Park and another in Wilmette. And last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, we did live fire training at the fire training tower in Winnetka with the area communities that we do a lot of auto aid with. Public Works, flushing fire hydrants, doing maintenance on sanitary and storm systems, landscaping throughout the village, preparing flower boxes to be planted, trimming back the bushes and trees that have encroached upon the sidewalks already, making it difficult in some areas to ride bikes and walk dogs or push babies around. And we've had a couple of water main breaks that we fixed within the last couple of weeks.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Potensky is here, Deputy Chief. Mike, do you have a report?
Yeah, thank you, President Longmiss. As the manager mentioned earlier, we're working very hard on recruiting right now, both the full-time lateral positions and the part-time officer position. Our Board of Police Commissioners will be interviewing some candidates next week. We hope to be able to move forward with that process as quickly as possible. And we're also very actively recruiting for the part-time officer position. It's been a number of years since we had a part-time officer here. The manager brings a lot of experience with that to us, which has been very valuable, so we appreciate that. Other than that, we're doing some planning for some upcoming summer events. The New True graduation party is taking place the night of June 2nd into the morning of the 3rd. It's always a big event for us, and then pretty soon we'll be working on July 4th planning, and that's
Great.
all we have.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Moving on to special board projects, we have the Sidewalk Committee. Anything new developments there?
Sure. We are having what I hope to be the final meeting on Thursday, where the committee approves the report, and then we'll bring the report to you guys.
Thank you very much. Mid-block crossing, Charles Horton.
I'm in contact working with Melissa with the engineering, and we got a price from me for the installation. The county has increased the requirements and are requiring concrete to be poured, so instead of being 1 day, 3-person installations, but it can take a couple days to get the concrete work first and then install the prices. And then we're working on getting the final price on the product and hoping to get that order and work with the village manager on getting that order. I talked to them about the lead time. It's gotten much better since a couple years ago when we had all the COVID issues with not being able to get the product and material. So hopefully the lead time is such that we can get that order and then we'll get the final pricing for installation and get this thing done.
I just had a question about the mid-block crossing, because I know it's a passion for the safety of the kids on the east side going from Lagoon across Winnetka. And I think there's, I know in our weekly update before our last board meeting, it stated that no bids had been received for that project. And then it was stated that it was moving forward really well. And I guess my question is now we have received bids on the project, or there's?
When the Friday update came in, between Friday and then the following board meeting, that Monday, Tuesday, more information and more things happened.
So you had received bids, okay.
So that Friday, when the Friday update went out, it hadn't
Okay.
hand in hand, but then the following Monday, Tuesday, when I followed up, I always do the couple days for the day of our board meetings with the engineers and consultants that had happened.
Okay,
That's why-
because the reason I'm asking is, so we've gotten, who submitted bids for that project? Was it just Mead?
At this point, it's being, they're waiting for another company for the installation. They put out the hometown electric, several other companies. You gotta remember, the county only allows certain people, they've got a list, whether it's the installers, whether it's the electricians, whether, they're very particular on who they allow to work on the right of ways.
Right.
So, you know, you're going out there and asking people to bid on it, but then are they checked off by the state, same with the product. Initially, the product that we got the prices for, it was approved by the county, then the county turned around and said, well, no.
Right, no, I remember all that, and I appreciate that. I just was curious if we had only received one bid for that project when it went out to bid, under the assumption in that week in review that we hadn't received any. And you've clarified that we actually received a bid from Mead, and that's all I needed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if I could just add a little clarity there, they got a zero bid through the county's vendors. And what we did is we reached out to the engineer that's helping with the project and basically said, hey, come on, what's going on here? So the engineer reached back out to the proposers and said, hey, would you please submit something? So this won't be your typical sealed bid. This is almost like asking for proposals because we're trying to find a way to get them to get response. And as Trustee Orr said, it is limited on who can spec this. So we're pushing to try to get it done. I think it's taking longer than it needs to. But as I learn the idiosyncrasies of the county, I am understanding why it's taking. So we hope you'll have more information by the next meeting of moving this forward.
It's just really too bad that we're dealing with a county road, and we have a village that's willing to improve the safety, and the county's just putting us through such a difficult time. Makes no
There's
sense.
no doubt in my mind that if we had the ability, Mike and his team could have had the forms poured, the sonotubes in the ground, and we could have had this up.
I remember Trustee Fowler and I were out there, how many years ago? Four
with
or
you.
5 years ago for
Yeah.
Safe Routes to School, and here we are, so,
Yeah. Melissa, Trustee Orth, and I are on this.
awesome.
And the other part of this is that when we talk to the consultants and the engineering people, so a lot of these projects are smaller. A lot of these companies don't always look to the bid because they don't make big money or it's a small project. So a lot of times they just don't, we all know that, they just don't put out, bids on this project. You always have to beg them and ask them, hey, please, can you do this? It's 1 or 2 days, it's not a big deal, we need to get it done.
I think it'd be a great board retreat. Go install.
You gotta get approved by the county, though, you have the people that actually touch your property.
Thanks.
Board's thinking and contemplating the inevitable replacement of that bridge, and the fact that that's going to be raised up 2 feet, the runoff, is going to be substantial. When I say that, I mean, it's going to affect the approaches on both sides severely. So how does that affect anything that we install? I mean, likely it'll be taken out, right?
No, because it's on the parkway. And the other thing is the fact that it's far enough back, is my understanding, that the approach, even though they're gonna grade it, would still be, it would still have to be, you're still gonna have the street crossing.
Sure.
And the curve there, so you're still gonna need the safety device in place. So even when they change the grade, you're still gonna have to have the device there, so.
I guess maybe you have an answer.
I
Go ahead.
think, hopefully. Worst case, as the county raises the bridge, depending on the extent of taper and how far that goes, the devices that staff has looked at are actually just basically mounted on a concrete post, much like a lamp post.
So it's easily movable.
Easily movable. The good news is there's not a conduit between the sections of the roadway. So if for some reason the taper's so long we need to raise them, we can take that concrete out, put in new concrete, and just reset the existing device. They communicate with each other wirelessly. So if you press the button on one side, it lights up both. They aren't talking underneath the cable in the roadway. So it is something for us to keep in mind, but I think that we'll be okay, even if we had to change it.
Okay.
And the plus is the solar power, like you mentioned. So the solar power reduces the cost and also allows us to move them as needed, if needed.
And I presume that in the design of the bridge and then the road work the county has to do, I mean, they're going to look at that safety aspect anyway, because as President Lungmas mentions, you're going to be coming up over a hill and coming down a hill where everybody gains speed right into a very busy crossing.
Yep.
And making sure that we have the appropriate safety there where we can have impact on that. The county's going to do what they're going to do, but to the extent we can ask them to take a good look at that, I hope we do.
If you recall, when we initially began this conversation with the county, I think it was back in 2022, we had hoped to put this crossing in the project.
Right.
And we proposed that. And they said it's too far away, it's totally outside the boundaries. So that was included in all of this.
And 2 feet from when you look at the height from the center of the bridge, when you grade it out, isn't as significant as it may sound as far as the distance from the center of the bridge to where we're doing it in Gwinnett Avenue. So we should be fine. Plus also it's a state-county project and, you know, they're talking 3 years, the way they operate, it could be longer. So the whole point of trying to get this done as soon as possible. And as we looked in the executive director's report on the other project, they already have denied the other crosswalks right at that intersection that we want to install with safety lighting. So this is critical if this gets done.
Okay. Next is the library campus. Todd and I have been working on that, really nothing to report right now. Hopefully, our next meeting will be able to give you something to, some more information.
Yeah, to chew on. Yep.
Last one is one of the things that I wanted to bring to the community was a drone for assistance with police and fire rescue. I last talked to Chief about it. The department was doing some research on what models they would want, that kind of thing. But that is something I know it's on their agenda to order and start training on it. Which is, that's it. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. So, no. Yeah. You're right.